Welcome to all the participants. My name is Marije van Breda. I'm Educate Coordinator. Before I give the floor to Peter, our moderator of the day, I will tell you a little bit more about Educate. Educate is the Belgian platform for education and development. About 50 Belgian organizations are member of the platform. All these organizations are working in the education sector and are member of our platform. One of the goals of Educate is to increase the knowledge by sharing international expertise and good practices with the platform members and other interested parties. That's the reason why we organize these Connect and Learn sessions. Today's session has been organized by Impala Bridge, Educomundo, and the D4D Hub, D4D Access, with the support of APV, VVOB, and the Belgian government. It's now 11 Belgian time. The session will last till 12, quarter to 12, past 12, sorry. We have two speakers, and at this moment, there are moments foreseen for a Q&A session. You can put the questions in the chat box. The session will be in English, but feel free to ask questions in French and Dutch if you want. I also will highlight that the session will be recorded and presentation and the recording will be available on the Educate website. So let's start with the session. Peter Stremus. Peter is the founder of Educomundo and the lead of the Educate Project Group Digitisation for Education. Peter, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Marije, and also from my side, welcome everybody on this call. And as Marije said, I am Peter Stremus, and I am the founder of Educomundo, a tech for good organization that makes or looks for solutions, technological solutions, to bridge the digital gap. That's our main mission. And I will be today's moderator. As already said, it is organized by the expert group Digital for Education. We are a small but quite active and diverse part of Educate. We are constantly looking for technological solutions to support education, but without losing sight that technology is a tool, not the means or not the final purpose. So that we should not lose sight of the human, the social, or the demographic situation. Over the past years, we have been working on quite a number of topics, and one of them last year was the setup of a database, a kind of an overview for the members of Educate, where they can actually put all of their projects together and share all of those initiatives. And while we were working on that initiative, we got in contact with the team of D4D Access, who were building actually exactly what we wanted to build. A knowledge platform containing good practices and lessons on digital for development. So today we are welcoming Atzira Gonzalez from the D4D Access Hub, who will give us insights in the working and experiences so far of the platform. And I say deliberately so far because the platform is relatively new. I think it's in the market or live for about 6, 7, maybe 8 months. And so it's relatively new and in its first instances. So for all of us on the phone, I think, or for most of us on the phone, it is really a primer to get a presentation on this platform. But first we will start with Martin Baga, who is the founder of Impala Bridge, as you can see on the slide. And he is piloting, or he has piloted, several digital libraries in remote areas, amongst other countries in Burkina Faso, but we know he is also active in Benin, where he solves the big issue of poor internet and electricity connectivity, which is one of the biggest burdens that we see in deploying technology in remote areas. So you may ask, how do these two topics now find each other in this session? Well, a few months ago, we asked Martin to add his project on the D4D Access Hub to get first-hand experience and share it with the community. So here we are. You are our community. So we thought it was a good idea to bring Martin together with Aziri, our two prime players in this field, and talk about their projects and about their experiences so that you can, for yourself and for your organization, evaluate how best to use it, whether it's something you find of interest, and maybe indeed use of it and in your own projects. So let's start with our first speaker, Martin, from Impala Bridge, who is going to talk about his projects. And yes, Martin, you have the floor.
Okay, do you hear me correctly?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Okay, let's go. I think I have also the screen control. Okay, so my name is Martin Baga, and I'm part of Impala Bridge, which is the Belgian NGO, and I'm going to present you one of our solution, a digital library for school in rural area. But first, let's give you a little presentation about myself, my journey, maybe to better understand my motivation and why I'm involved in digital education, mainly in Africa. So I live in Belgium 25 ago as a young refugee. I have put that picture with Lego because I think I was one of the lucky guy playing with Lego in Africa in my village. So I arrived in Belgium with a passion, and thanks to Belgium, I received an education and the expertise. And now I am an ICT engineer and a proud Belgian product, let's say. So currently, I support different organizations in public sector and also private sector, many European Commission, NATO, and ENFPA ITU in Africa. A part of that, I'm engaged as volunteer tech educator in different organizations here in Europe, like Code Club, Lab for Teacher. This is not only a passion, but is also a way to improve my educational skills. And with all those knowledge, I try to give it back through Impala Bridge in Africa. This is my motivation and why I'm so invested in that sector. So, as Peter have already said, one of the challenge that faced the edutech in Africa is the lack of infrastructure and connectivity. And it is already a barrier to online education, access to digital content and learning platform. And you all remember or have seen that when during the COVID, when the rest of the world was relying on internet for education, in Africa we was trying to send the educational content through radio, through some television in some country. Yeah, and that have really amplified the digital divide. You know, and I have put some reason of why you don't have internet in school in Africa. Most of the time, the school responsible will tell you that it is expensive, many in rural area. Even if you have a connection, sometimes you don't have electricity. And even if you have a connection, the infrastructure are not robust for educational content. So then come our solution, the DigiLib, call it Impala DigiLib. And the idea is to have a digital library, solar powered, and with which you can share content locally in the school using a locally Wi-Fi, and something which don't cost a lot and only using commercial product, what we call codes. And this solution can also be adapted to other sectors like healthcare or administration, where you can share content. When you have internet, you can download the maximum you need. And once you have it locally, you can share with students in our case. I have put just a little photo to see when you talk about service, not something big. It's like a classic desktop. And you have here on the right is the Wi-Fi point. Maybe I will have another good picture for that. So I will not go in detail about the infrastructure, but just understand that the main component is what we call a NAS, is where you have all the data, is network attached storage. In our case, we use Synology, and it is the main component. And additional to that, you have a Wi-Fi point. That's something you can like use at home, or you can find in any ICT shop. And for the electricity, we use a solar energy kit. I don't know if most of you know about the story about SolarLi, because the kit we use is a Belgian solution. So this is something made in Belgium for rural area. And I think the team is based in Cameroon, but there are 3 young Belgians based in Cameroon who have developed a specific solution for rural area. So this is the key to use. We use it as it is. So we just have to connect and calculate the power needed, and we connect to the digital library. So for those who want data on architecture, I can provide data, but just to show you, it is not something complicated. You can connect some laptop locally or access it via mobile through the Wi-Fi point. Okay, you have also an interface, user interface. You have administration interface, and you can configure like you want. In our case, you have students, teacher, and a visitor. Once you are in the system, it is like a classic Windows, so you don't have to have specific knowledge to store or to add content on the digital library. It is like a classic Windows, both on mobile or on a laptop. I have also added this feature in black. It is the way you can monitor the energy. So when you have internet, the lapse of time you have internet, you can even connect to monitor the energy. It is not necessary, but if you want, you can do it. You know. So we have installed a pilot project in Burkina. It was part of what they call PASPANGA. It is a Nanabel initiative. So we installed the digital library in 3 schools, and we have trained about 15 users and administrators. So how we process, we have started by a requirement analysis. Yeah, because every school will have its way to use the library. So it's important to put all the stakeholders concerned and understand which need they want for the library. And after that, we have made a selfie. I don't know if some of you know the selfie. It is a European Commission tools. You can use it to assess how a school use ICT, or which kind of material they need. This is very important in Africa, because sometimes you arrive in a school, you give laptop, but maybe the school don't need a laptop. We have used these tools to tell to director, okay, now you know what you need. Next time a donor arrive in your school, you can say, okay, we need more projector, not laptop. We need maybe robot, not laptop. And this is a tool we use to really assess the level of school in using digital equipment or digital content. After we install the equipment and we test the equipment with a locally, we explain later, with a locally partner, and we have uploaded the content. So That is interesting because we have already existing content for those schools. We got some content from Benin. We got all those content with our different projects we made in Benin. Even in Belgium, we have some content from Belgium, like how you teach kids about coding, about robotics. All those content we have primarily put those on the server, and they can be used. We have like 100 giga of content, and they can already starting to use that content. We train the trainer, and those 15 the administrator will be able to train other teacher, and if needed, we can support them. Now we are trying to sustain the initiative actually. Okay. Well, sometimes pictures are better than this school. So here is how it looked like. One of the workshop we did in Burkina. Mainly it was about persona. Some of you know what is persona. Try to see which kind of profile we'll be able to connect, which right you give to a student, which right you give to a teacher. And this is also an opportunity to showcase some technology, like you can see that playing with virtual reality, some educational content in virtual reality. It was not like a strict workshop. It was really an exchange between us and the teacher. We have also teach them how to use, for example, a Padlet, because we was needed a tools to collaborate on the project. So this was an opportunity to show them, okay, we can collaborate on Padlet and have all our resources or all our document from the project in one place. And this is a tool used also by Enabel in Uganda, and I really appreciate the tool. It is not complicated and can be used by teacher with students to collaborate. I don't have the control anymore. Okay. This is the session of trainer workshop. Nothing to see particularly. Okay. Here you have for me the most interesting aspect of the project is what people call co-creation, connecting the dots, connecting people, create an ecosystem. It is all about that. That means for the DigiLib is not only something from Impala Bridge. It's something we have a network behind. So we have connect different organizations to make it not expensive, to make it quick, and to be sure that we are in the good direction. We have collaborated a lot with Educomondo. We meet Educomondo through Educate. And the architecture I show you, it is something which have been used already in Cambridge, for example. That means it was practically sure that we will success to do that. We was not even more talking about prototype, because prototype have been already made in campus. We are working with Gera to develop the software on DigiLib, but Gera have already implemented in Benin, in some school in Benin. So we was also sure that it will work. And as I told you, we have worked with Solari. Solari is a startup. I have put the picture because Solari, the story of Solari is very interesting. For me, it's the way we have to collaborate between European country and African country. Like those students have starting by doing a thesis on energy in Cameroon. And now the story is like they are a startup, a well-known startup. So we collaborate with them. We were sure to have an adapted solution tested in Cameroon. And the last one is EduLab. All the content I told you, EduLab have like a TV, and they accept to download around 40 giga of video for us, putting on the library, and teacher can directly use them in Burkina. So is what I can call collective intelligence. And with that way to work is also open innovation, you can say. You go quickly, you don't spend money for testing, and the result is quick and good. Okay. Try to have the control again. Okay, to sustain the initiative, we are thinking about different solutions. First of idea is we have a network of code club in Benin, so we are trying to implement the same thing in Burkina. When you talk about code club here in Europe, code club is kids, but in Africa, we also bring teacher in code club. And this is a good way for them to be familiar with IT, to be confident, and after that they can go in their school more with more confident in using ICT in their classroom. Let's say. A second idea is to connect the initiative with a VAT school. And Solari is a variable to train some teacher in VET schools so they can maintain the electrical part of the installation, and they will have like a really live way to work in their courses. So this is also a second idea we have on sustaining the initiative. So I think it is all. And if you have question, you are welcome. Sorry for my English, I'm French speaking, and if you have not really understand something, you can ask me to repeat. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. That was really good. And by the way, your English is very good, so don't worry. I think
I tried.
Very good. No worries about that. I noticed in the chat that there were actually two questions. And I'd like to paraphrase them a little bit with what are the plans in other countries? And the questions were specifically, do you have any plans in Kenya? And the other was in Uganda. So I think that's indeed an interesting question. You have these three installations. What are the next steps in terms of expanding this?
Yeah, we are a small NGO, so we don't have the ambition to work in all countries in Africa, but the idea is we answer need. So if there is a need in Uganda, and I forget maybe to mention that if you work with NABEL, you also work with digital ministry and education ministry, IT ministry. So if there is a request from a local authority or from an international organization to create a library somewhere in Uganda or Kenya, we are available, and we can also share the technology. We don't have that way to keep everything with us. As I already told you, it is open innovation. If someone in Uganda needs support to implement the same thing, we are available.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just wanted to say that we are working on a very similar project in Burundi, which we just started, and there we work with GitHub, which is an organization, not-for-profit organization, working specifically in Burundi. So indeed, like if there are any questions, you can always contact us to see how we can help. And I think there was another question, so I'd like to give the floor to Gervais, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Gervais, do you have a question? Not sure if you're muted. I can't see it, whether you're muted or not.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Yes, now we hear you.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Yes.
OK. Moi, c'est Gervais Ndiokouboy. Excusez-moi de parler en français, car Mbaga comprend le français bien. C'est pourquoi je parle en français. Moi, c'est Gervais Ndiokouboy. Je suis le peuple autochtone de la communauté D4D Burundi. Je suis le directeur de l'organisation de la communauté batois, communément appelée Initiative de promotion de l'éducation des batois pour le développement durable, IPREBAD en sigle. Moi, j'ai pris l'initiative de former 150 jeunes sur donc l'informatique, donc écrire avec Excel et Word, Internet et d'autres applications Internet. Mais la raison ou les problèmes, les défis par lesquels que j'ai rencontré, ce sont donc l'électricité. Au Burundi, vraiment, dans les milieux ruraux, on utilise seulement des panneaux solaires et c'est difficile sur donc, même aux communautés d'accéder à ces panneaux solaires suite au manque de moyens. Et ça fait vraiment une entrave pour les jeunes de pouvoir affronter les autres jeunes qui ont déjà avancé dans l'utilisation de l'informatique suite à ce défi. Donc, la question que je voudrais poser à M. Mbaga, est-il possible donc d'emprunter ou d'aider même les jeunes de la communauté autochtone afin qu'ils puissent accéder à l'utilisation des données, donc des outils informatiques. Merci beaucoup.
Oui, Gervais, merci pour ta question. Bon, je vais répondre en français comme tu as posé en français. Comme on a dit, on n'est pas ambitieux à travailler sur tous les pays, mais Peter a dit qu'il y a quelque chose qui commence au Burundi. Donc, on peut partager les contacts, comme ça, tu peux m'envoyer un message. Si on fait quelque chose au Burundi, on pourra mettre peut-être en priorité ta communauté. Et s'il y a des jeunes qui veulent être formés de ta communauté, voir ce qu'on peut faire. Je sais qu'on a un beau contact au Burundi, dont j'ai un peu oublié le nom, qui est basé en Suède. Envoie-moi un message et on verra ce qu'on peut faire. Merci à toi.
Okay, well, thanks. Thanks. This was a short interludium. Thanks for the questions. There was one particular question from Gervais to see how we can help with the electricity in Burundi. And as I said, we are working with GitHub, so we can definitely bring you in contact with Mr. Chris Clemens from the GitHub organization, who is actually this week still in Burundi. So I'll make a note and make sure that after our call we can change our addresses. So without further going into the numerous questions you probably have, I would like to give the floor to our next speaker of the D4D Access Hub. So Atsiri, please, you have the floor.
Thank you. Yes, oh, I can use it. Good. So, sadly, my presentation has less pictures than Martin, but please try to keep up. I'll try to be brief as much as I can. Just a quick introduction to our platform. So D4D Access, that's the name of the platform. The idea is that it's really a knowledge platform that centralizes, promotes, and disseminates good practices and lessons on digital for development. The idea is that it's really a repository where you can find useful resources for public institutions, donors, academia, private sector, civil society, both in Africa and in Europe, to exchange on their experiences and lessons learned on digital for development. This platform was launched in December 2022 by the African Union, European Union Digital for Development Hub. And here I will stop for a moment just to give a quick introduction on the AU D4D Hub. So the AU D4D Hub is actually a project that brings together all these organizations that you see there, ENABE, GSED, Expertise France, IGA, AFD, etc., funded by the European Union with the purpose of supporting African institutions to lay the grounds for an inclusive and sustainable digital transformation. At the AU D4D Hub, we do three things. We do technical assistance, which is direct support to African institutions, mostly public sector institutions. Second part is knowledge sharing, everything that is exchanges of experiences and knowledge between African and European partners. And the third part is organization of multi-stakeholder dialogues with the digital ecosystems in different countries, Africa, Europe, or between African countries. So this platform, D4D Access, is one of our activities under knowledge sharing. And the idea is that we really have a place that can allow us to digitally enable all the knowledge sharing activities that we do. That said, I mean, this is not our only knowledge sharing activity. We also have things like study visits, workshops that we do. We also have like an offline part of it, but this is the online tool that is meant to facilitate that process. And why we decided to call it actually D4D Access and kind of doing something separate, you know, with its own website though, is that we can provide a platform beyond the organizations involved to really kind of open it up to both institutions, organizations in Africa and Europe to use it and provide this tool to broader, let's say, digital ecosystem in both continents. So the main features, oh, sorry, I just realized I did never show you this slide. I'm so sorry, but this was, I'm so sorry. I have the presentation open in my other screen and I was changing that one. But sorry, here you have the implementing partners of the D4D Hub, and this is the text that I had just been explaining. So the main features of D4D Access, the idea is that this really is a one-stop shop to find knowledge products on digital for development on D4D. It is actually a very, very simple platform. Our point is that you need no more than 2 clicks to find information you need. So it's really low tech. This also means that it's quite low. It works quite well in low bandwidth environments and it's quite mobile friendly. So nothing too complicated, not many things to load to try to make it as accessible as possible. The platform as such is available in English and French. Content is available in one language or the other or in both, depends on the contributions. And it supports contents in all kinds of formats, from video to infographics, blogs, PDFs to download. It can be adapted to whatever format the content is. What kind of information can you find there? What kind of resources are available? This is the categories, let's say, that exist so far. It doesn't mean that it's the only categories that may exist in the future, but it is the ones that we have received the most contributions, and those have been created because they're relevant. If we suddenly got, let's say, 20 knowledge products on digital, like, I don't know, education, for example, we could open a new category on that. It's just a matter of the resources available. But you see there's different things on digital skills, cybersecurity, digital entrepreneurship. The scope is very wide. And again, in terms of knowledge products, what you can find there is case studies to learn from particular experiences on D4D. You can find, for example, blogs with expert interviews, videos also showcasing different opinions, events, podcasts, reports, guidelines, multimedia stories, etc. And as I said, I mean, the idea is that this is really an open platform, not just for AU D4D Hub actors, but for everyone, all the stakeholders in Africa and Europe who want to share knowledge products. Could just ask that these knowledge products align with the purpose of the platform, which is really sharing lessons learned, not only self-promotional material, but, you know, really try to share with others what has worked, what hasn't, and put out there useful information. The submission process is very simple. It can be done online through an online platform. And our team takes care of reviewing all the knowledge products, doing a quick quality check. Sometimes it goes pretty smooth because we receive really good products. Sometimes it takes a little bit more investment to go back and forth a few times with feedback until we have a high quality knowledge product. And oh, sorry, I went one too far. One slide, actually, this slide is about what's in there for contributors, what's in there for the digital ecosystem, for all the stakeholders to use this platform. Well, it's something that is there, is available, it's maintained by our project. So it's open, free to use for everyone. It's an opportunity to reach new audiences in Africa and Europe. Our team invests quite some resources in promoting this, trying to talk to activities like this, you know, try to talk to all different actors is a good way of being known by new people, increase visibility. For many organizations, it's very useful to have a place to host multimedia content because they might have no other place to do so. For organizations that also have a place, like a good website or other platform, it's also a good way to drive traffic, redirect, and of course, showcase experiences and expertise on different aspects of digital for development. And finally, I mean, I added that one last slide because I wanted, sorry, yeah, there. I wanted to be also very honest on the lessons learned that we have as a team in the last 6 months since we launched it, which was actually the 1st of December 2022, on what has worked, what hasn't worked of this platform, and the work that we still have to do to constantly improve it and making sure that it responds to a need to foster these exchanges of knowledge. One thing that is very important is to have some, let's say, exclusive content, high quality original content that people can only find on different access and that can really drive people, attract people towards a platform, not only hosting content that can also be found elsewhere. Another very, very important lesson is partnerships. I mean, this is all about relationship building with different institutions. It takes time and effort to talk to different partners, spaces like these, sometimes networks, sometimes individual institutions, explain the platform, and also try to tailor what we can offer as a platform to meet different organizations' needs. There's also a very strong need for motivation, of constantly creating incentives for contributors to put their content on the platform. Say it can be, you know, including these different resources across our communication channels to give extra visibility, or creating something together with an institution so we can have some new content, but we have to create these incentives. Promotion and marketing events are key. It's a never-ending, let's say, process, you know, process. We always have to be looking for spaces to present the platform, getting new users, making it attractive. And of course, I mean, having a platform is not just about creating the platform and making it work. That is a big part, but it's about always managing a community, being very proactive, reaching out to people. And this requires a lot of human resources. And just to give an example, you know, even a short presentation like this, I mean, it's half a day of a work of myself, you know, from preparation, being here. Now imagine maybe out of, I don't know, we have 25 people here, maybe one of you will be convinced of using this platform and will upload a knowledge product. But now imagine, you know, taking this to scale, the amount of times that we have to do presentations like this, the amount of times that we need to talk to partners to both contribute, but also use a platform. So it is quite a task. But at the end of the day, we have received positive feedback, and well, maybe Martin will discuss this later, from the people that have used it. I mean, there's still, I guess, we still see an interest for a space like this. So of course, it's well worth investment. And this is up to, this is the slides I have prepared. But I mean, after this, we're still having a conversation with Martin, and I'm very happy to answer to any questions you may have. I will also post a link to the platform so you can check it out yourselves.
Thank you very much, Atsiri, for this presentation. Just going to check whether we have a particular question. Yes, indeed, there is already a question from, difficult to see, from Mary, who says, "Dear Atsiri, this is quite informative. What does it take to establish the partnership that you were talking about?"
Well, it's not a formal, let's say, partnership, you know, it's more about being in regular touch. Once in a while, you know, have a call, discuss what are your needs, what are your interests when it comes to knowledge sharing, discuss in particular how D4D access could be used by your organization and how our team can help you in that regard. And I would say with some of the organizations who are regular contributors, we have a quick check-in every 6 months or something like that, every 3 months, to see, you know, what's next, what's new, how else can they keep contributing to the platform.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have any hard numbers to share where you see the increase? I know that I followed it till a couple of weeks ago, and you could, you know, it was starting to build, you know, more and more content and more people who are actually visiting it. Is there anything you can share on that? Does that work according to your expectations? Of course, you always want more, I can imagine. On the other hand, of course, you want to make sure that the quality, and you talked about some of the exclusivity, is there. So how do you assess it more in terms of numbers?
Performance really varies, and this is, I guess, a challenge. We have periods in which we have so many contributions. Right now, we have about 12 contributions pending. We really have a backlog from our side to review and get everything done. But there's also periods which we anticipate now for the summer break, then there's nothing. Yeah. And managing that workflow, when we have also many other priorities, I mean, it's not that easy. A good knowledge product, for example, created for D4D access, can get 1,000 visitors, which is quite good. But some, if we don't promote, if we just put it there and then never do anything about it, I mean, 20. In terms of how we get our traffic, which is quite interesting, Google remains the #1 source of traffic. So it's actually people Googling things and then finding them in our platform. So what we've been working on is on how to get people to stay in the platform. And this has to do with, you know, how one knowledge product can lead you to the next, and how we can establish links between the content. So you get not just individual products with packages, you know, so you can deepen your knowledge on a specific topic. But that is work in progress. It's as we've learned as of the behavior of the users that we are trying to improve this as well.
Right. Okay. Well, let's switch to a user now that we're talking about the users. Here we have online one of your users. So Martin, and we asked Martin to provide some honest feedback. So I would like to ask Martin, What was your experience with the process of getting your project onto the Access Hub?
Okay, the process was quite short, I think, because as she explained, maybe our content was already correct, so it have only take like 2 or 3 days. What was our question was like we only send a question, a text, if I remember, and photo, and we didn't know how they will manage to put all those things together, and we was agreeably surprised because there is a template they have which valorize the content, let's say. Otherwise the process was quite quick, so for me it was okay.
Yeah, but you mentioned that you had already prepared everything. So are
Yeah,
there any pieces of advice that you can give to content providers to prepare? And is that something that you can find on the Hub as guideline?
Yeah, they have sent us like a template, but you need to work on the content. There is no choice, because I know that we are a technical NGO, for example, and it is not our preferred work, but it gives also an occasion to summarize what we do and an opportunity to share our expertise. And yeah, for me, you need to work on your content. So you need at least you need a preparation like half day to put everything together before send it.
Yeah. And then maybe one last question. Have you already seen for Impala Bridge an increase in requests or people reaching out to you because they found you? And I know it's just a couple of weeks ago that.
Yeah, for a small NGO like us, it is a good visibility. It is also about our credibility. Now, when people ask me what I'm doing in Burkina, I just have to send a link on D4D Access, for example. And also, they don't only share on the platform, because they share also on Twitter. And on Twitter, you have see that many people have follow us because of D4D help share about our activity. Yeah, for organization like us, it's very interesting to be on those kind of platform. Now I think maybe that it can be some improvement. I think be able to tag a content, and to, when I work in Burkina, maybe find a group with people from Burkina. We used to have a platform like that with Close the Gap, if I remember, and be able to put people doing something together, connect with people in your area on the platform. Otherwise, for us, it is a good. We are preparing another article for the platform, so
That's good.
so that's interesting.
Thanks. While you were talking, and you referred to indeed previous initiatives in terms of building this type of platform. We sometimes see platforms come and go. So specific question to you, Aziri, is this a platform to stay, or is this something that will also disappear once the funding is gone? So, and I know this is a bit of a provocative question, but I think this is just a reality that we have to live with in terms of these initiatives. And I know it's very well supported, but how do you see that?
That's the most important question of all. And this is why, yeah, I mean, we've been through so much reflection about this. And I wanted to make the point that the challenge is not to create a good platform. The challenge is to maintain it and maintain it relevant and active. So, yeah, I mean, sustainability was at the heart of what our considerations before we started the platform. And the idea, I mean, is that this taken still by the D4D hub for a while. And it might be an opportunity to scale it up to cover beyond Africa, but also other geographic regions. Let's say we started up a little bit simple, as a pilot, with connecting Europe, Africa in the scope of the AU D4D hub. But the idea is that it can keep growing, and that at least we have secured funding for at least another couple of years to keep it running.
For me, an interesting question, because I can tell you we have spent a lot of time on a previous platform, and I can tell you we don't know even where is our content. So you say you can spend 1.5 day, so we work like 1-2 hours on a platform, and when those platforms disperse, they disperse with our data. So we was at least expecting maybe we can move data from old platform to the new one, but apparently it's not possible. And for Africa, I work with different hubs in Africa. It can be interesting to partner with them, maybe exchange with them on how they can use that platform to showcase their solution. My idea is like, if Enabel support a project, because at the end you show all those partners who launch the initiative. If Enabel support an initiative in any country supporting a hub to implement something, it should be like, they say, mandatory to share about that initiative. This is what now UN is calling digital public goods. You have to share about that. And if it's in the term of reference, you will have your content more technical, because this is also what I have to share. There is not so technical on the platform, and most of the time you go on the platform to learn about what is the technical solution that have been implemented. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe one in terms of the content that you are providing. We all know in social media that once you are using video, you get far more attraction of people. Aziri, is there any guidance or best practices that you can share with the team in terms of using video instead of using just text, or using podcasts, for instance, that it has an impact on the number of visitors? Is that something that granular that you can share with us?
My advice is to always go for multi-formats.
Mm-hmm.
Put the same content in different formats, because people consume information in many diverse ways. So it doesn't matter. You have one message, you're recording a podcast, that's fantastic. There will be people that would love to listen to your podcast, but there's also people that won't. You already did the hard work. My advice would be, do a summary in terms of a blog. Then people who are willing perhaps to read 5 minutes, but not listen to half an hour, will still get your message. You do a video, nice, but summarize it. Make at least a transcript available so people can read. It's a problem with one type of content. It's very difficult to reach so many audiences. These days is so diverse, the way people consume it. So my advice would be, I mean, if you're really going to make an investment, try to make it in different formats.
Right, okay. One question that I also had in terms of the structure, and it's a little bit related to what Martin also talked about, the tagging, in a way at least, is when we looked at your hub, we were definitely very pleasantly surprised. But one of the areas that we did not specifically so called out was education. I think there is something about more, it's kind of more development. There is more of a general bucket that you have used, but not for education. Of course, this is educate. We are very much focused on education. Are you having any plans to introduce education as a or skills development? It could even be broader than that, as part of an immediate, not a tag, but really a bucket where people can immediately say, yes, this is what I'm interested in.
We have digital skills as one of
Yes,
them.
yeah, that was the one that I was referring
You know,
to.
we
Yeah.
don't have education, to be fair. We have, I think, only 3 things about education.
Yeah.
So moment we have more than 10. Then for us, it's time to create a new, let's say, tag to be able to filter that content.
Yeah.
And sorry, may I mean, I just want to add a new thing. I mean, this is a constant improvement journey. So never hesitate to, I mean, if you're using the platform, let us know your feedback. I have an online form for feedback, and I'm very happy to provide, in which we systematize, and we keep adding, you know, new features every, let's say, 3-4 months is the idea, according to the feedback we receive. But of course, always we try to balance pros and cons. For example, I really like Martin Day's idea of being able to have people connect with each other. But then the problem that comes with it is, and then people need to create an account. And then we enter a whole new level of maintenance of the platform. If at one point we see that we have enough capacity to maintain something like that, we would be open to do it. But then if we do something, we prefer to do it right. Then we have something that we have no capacity to moderate either, or to maintain. And you know, it's about finding the right balance between functionalities, but also, for example, privacy, security. Because, you know, even now, if you leave a comment, it's a comment that needs to be approved. Just to make sure that it's legit. But we try. And sorry, I just wanted to share here in the link the case study of Martin as well, because I wanted to say, yes, Martin was really smooth, because to be honest, it was already very good. One of the things that we just haven't managed to do, though, is translate it to English. It's in the to-do list, so we can also make it available to an Anglophone public. But it was already very good, because you already identify the key elements of your project, and it's kind of really already dissected for people to be able to learn from it.
Yes, indeed. So thanks for putting it indeed in the chat. In the meantime, I'm just looking at the audience. If you have any questions to both of our speakers, we are around 12 o'clock now, so we still have some time to take very specific questions, and it can be about the relationship between the hub and Impala Bridge and their experiences, but it can also just be very specific on something that is related to the project of Martin, or specifically the project of Thierry. So do not hesitate to put things in the chat or raise your hand. I know that Marije is taking a keen eye on that, so you can ask your questions. While we're waiting for some of your questions to pop up in the chat, I had another one specifically this time for Martin, because well, Martin and I have been following up, of course, on the project quite closely, and the last slide that you were showing is bringing all of these people together, all of the actors together, which is, of course, you know, the prime thing of our of this project. The one thing that I have seen is, or that my immediate reaction was, these are small players all together. Yes, there was definitely the support of Enable, but it's all about the funding. And we got the questions immediately. We got questions from Uganda, we got questions from Kenya, and so on. But it's, you know, even if it is not that expensive, it is still a couple of thousands of euros to install the equipment and to make everything working. How do you see, Martin, the issue of, getting money for these initiatives. Is there any advice or any sharing of a best practice that you can tell us in order to set up similar situations or similar projects in other countries?
Difficult question. For me, when people talk about money in African digitalization, there is no issue about money. If you want to calculate money spent in African digitalization, there are a lot of money. So it's not about money, it's maybe about information. How I get that project? I was traveling in Burkina, and as a good Belgian, I decided to visit Annabelle. When I arrive at Annabelle, I meet the D4D expert at that moment. Told him, you are Belgian and you are in Burkina. Oh, maybe that can interest you. This is how I get that project. So for me, it's about how information are shared and be curious to ask what is going on in your country, and for me, it's not a problem of money. There are a lot of money spent in digitalization, maybe not the correct way, but there is no issue of money for me. It's about how information is shared, who is informed about those projects, etc.
Great, thanks, Martin. It's good to know that money is not an issue. So I think you and I have to talk. So that's. And in the meantime, I think Mugisha has raised his hand. At least that's what I see here. So Mugisha, I'm going to give you the floor. So if you can unmute yourself, please ask your question. We can't hear you, Mugisha. Maybe you can put it in the chat, then I can read the question for everybody. And while we are waiting, maybe for Mugisha to put it in the chat. I had one more question for you, Martin. It's about the local partnerships. Somebody has to install the equipment, somebody has to load the content on the network attached storage. How was the support and the technical capability of the local IT partner? Is that crucial, or is that something that you say, well, everybody can do it because it's so simple?
It's not very simple, but the challenge is to identify those who have already that expertise to be able to capitalize the existing expertise. This is why I told you, for example, for the installation in Burkina, we didn't have the time to train Burkina from Burkina. So we bring like the team we have in Benin for the implementation, because it was a small project. But for me, this is the way we should work in innovation, in digitalization, is to identify, if you say most projects in Africa start by mapping. But once you map, there is a reason you map people. If you map people and you're labeling them that they have that competency, when you have a project, you should look on the map. Okay, those guys have already doing that, and we can rely on them. For the electricity, is the same things. We have already worked with the electricity company on another project in Burkina, not in education. And we have just contacted that guy to partner with Solari and install the electricity. And we keep them. That means for the next project, we will do the same. We try to not redoing the why, like people say.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Let's give it another try with Mugisha. But I haven't seen anything
Yes,
in
Peter?
the chat.
I can be heard.
Ah, Mugisha, there you are. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Sorry about the first glitch. Thank you, Peter and Gonzalez. Mine goes to Gonzalez. Two questions about D4D access on contributors. Does it only allow maybe organizations, or it allows both individuals and maybe groups of individuals to contribute content? And then the second question is on, are you maybe having plans to expand on the scope of the areas of expertise? For example, maybe to involve content to capture maybe young people, or maybe content that can benefit, because to me, I largely do mentorship with young people in schools that are still schooling. Maybe do you have intentions of expanding your areas of expertise to accommodate content that also maybe serves to generally young people or teenagers? Thank you.
I'll start by the youth question. Having youth as contributors or youth organizations as contributors, I mean, that's already an option. And having youth as users, I actually believe we already have. But it depends, I mean, what type of, I mean, youth is a big word, right? It encompasses, I mean, so many people and so many types of users. But we have a lot of, for example, youth-led organizations or young experts working in the D4D field that are already part of our community, that participate in other activities organized by the AU D4D Hub, and as such use D4D access. So if it's with the purpose, you know, of learning about D4D projects, D4D initiatives, that is there. If it's about a new scope or in general, you know, involving youth in terms of, you know, making this a platform to acquire digital skills or something like that, I believe that would fall a little bit out of the scope of the platform. I don't know if this makes sense. And this goes again with individuals. I mean, I'm trying to think if we have had any individuals contributing. I believe we once had somebody that sadly we had to reject because it was basically, you know, trying to basically what he did was putting his CV out there, trying to showcase his expertise on D4D. Well, that's not the purpose of the platform. But if it's an individual, let's say entrepreneur that has launched a project or something, of course that's, I mean, of course that's welcome content. It doesn't have to be an institution, no. That's it. It has not been the case, so we'll be happy to have the first one.
Okay, well, thanks. Thanks for this clarification. I think it's time to wrap up because we are almost getting to the end of our call. So I'd like to thank you, Aziri, and Martin for the time spent. As you said, there's always a lot of preparation for presentations. So we really appreciate all the work that you have put into this Connect and Learn. So a really warm thank you from my side. And I'll hand it over for the final comments to Marije again. So Marije, you're up.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Aziri and Martin, for your very interesting presentations. And I think it was really useful for the public. Thanks to Lisa for the technical support. At the beginning of the session, I said that one of the goals for Educate is to share good practices. But one of the other goals from Educate is to encourage and to facilitate synergies and collaboration between our members. And I think this session is really an example of a good collaboration between Educomundo, Impala Bridge, and now with D4D Access. So I'm very happy to see that. As mentioned at the beginning also, the session has been recorded and everything will be available on our website, the presentations and also the PDF documents that you sent us at Siri about the D4D Access platform. For remaining questions, you can always reach out via email at the info@educate.be address. We will have a summer break, but we will come back in September with another Connect&Learn. This session will be about the 2023 UNESCO GEM report on technology in education. Keep an eye on our website and also on our social media to keep up to date. And I will invite you also to save the date for the International Educate Conference in October, on the 17th of October, the 17th, on decent work and education. So I will be happy to see you back. I wish you a nice day, a nice evening, and see you soon. Bye-bye, and have a great summer break to you all. Thanks.
Yeah, bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Hey, Martin.
Bye.
Thank you.